Hey guys, what's up? It's Chad. Wanted to do a quick earnings preview since earnings uh, season is starting this week, starting to get in full swing, so it's very exciting. But even more exciting, first of all, is the S&P 500 is in record territory. It's amazing. It's pretty incredible that we're finally making records after over a year. So on your screen here, I have the S&P 500, and you can see it's going up. Let's see right here. So here we go. So it's crossed over this lower highs trend line and actually crossed over the previous high made back in May of last year. And today we made it up to 2155. We've eclipsed the previous high by 20 points on the S&P 500. It's pretty incredible. So where do we go from here? You know, the action today was not particularly great. And over the last several days, we've had decreasing prices at the close, which is never a very good thing. But, you know, we keep making new highs. What typically happens is we'll see a pullback at some point, at least to the breakout zone, so to the 2100, 2135 level. We may see a retracement to that level and then maybe a move forward. Obviously, we've closed above the previous highs twice already, so that's pretty good. We'll see what happens from here on out. So now we're past Brexit. You know, all the China concerns that we had of last year have quieted down. So now the big news is earnings. So earnings is really interesting because I do believe that the market follows earnings. But, you know, earnings have been decreasing for the past 5 quarters. So that's huge. I'm going to come back here, and if you see this dip in 2014, right here at the end of September 2014, you have a big dip down to about 1820 from 2015, 2016 level. That was marking the first decrease in earnings. So since then, we've really been moving sideways. So we really haven't made much progress since then. We really haven't gone anywhere. So hopefully with this breakout, maybe we'll move forward. But the concern is that earnings estimates again this quarter are for a negative earnings growth number. So earnings are projected to decrease in growth by 5.6%. So that being said, typically companies will guide a little lower and then they'll try to beat their earnings numbers. So typically there's anywhere between a 2.7% increase over the average estimates, between 2.7 and 4% increase over the average estimates according to FactSet. So that still does not get us to an even number. So if that's true and we go by the averages, we'll still see a decline in earnings of 1 to 2% roughly. But still, this will be the first time we've had decreasing earnings for 5 quarters in a row since 2008 and 2009. Pretty remarkable, especially since the market has continued to stay about this level. You would think with this kind of earnings decreases that the market would have taken a big hit, but it hasn't really. It's been pretty resilient. Even now, with the earnings about what they're projected to be, that gives us a PE ratio for the S&P 500 of about 24, which is really high, historically speaking. So with this really high PE, how much higher can we really go? That's my question. So I'm really happy that the market's going higher, but at the same time, I'm taking it with a large grain of salt because valuations are high and earnings have not been very good. We'll have to follow revenues as well. Top line revenues have not been increasing in a long time. So we'll have to see how these earnings season pans out. The last thing I wanted to say today was about the Federal Reserve. So nobody is looking for a rate increase this month. Previously, we were looking for an increase in July or September, sometime in that time frame, but nobody's talking about it right now. This week, we have a lot of Fed representatives speaking, so it'll be very interesting to see if they give us any insight on whether they've changed their minds. With the S&P at all-time highs, they very well may feel empowered to go ahead and raise interest rates. But again, we'll see what they say this week. Anyway, just wanted to say have a great week. The S&P is at new highs, so everybody's pretty happy. Hope you are too. Talk to you again soon. Trade strong.